Today we're talking about a plant that every forager should know. Very common edible weed. This is burdock, greater burdock, lesser burdock. I've been working on this video since like 2017. You're going to see me wear like 3 different outfits. There is the plant, if you're not familiar, next to my old dog Calvin. May he rest in peace. We're going to talk about the 3 big edible parts of burdock. That's the roots. Kinpira Gobo is a dish made from the roots, the leaf petioles, and the flower stalks we will talk about. So first, the roots. And first things first, you should know that the roots, you can buy these commercially. You can buy these at an Asian market. They cultivate this in Asia. They've been doing that for a very long time. They're masters at it. And that is called gobo, and that's greater burdock, which is Arctium lapa. Common burdock, which is what most people are going to see wild, is Arctium minus. And Arctium minus is smaller. There are the two side by side. The cultivated version is much more perfectly cylindrical, and it's also noticeably more tender. But tender is relative when we're talking about burdock because it's always going to be a little bit chewy. So when we're digging, I am not going to try to dig the entire root here. This is just how I do it. I try to find the most efficient way to harvest the most amount of food possible. And digging an 8-foot taproot is not in the cards for me, nor has it ever been. I do not have time for that. And if you're in someone's yard, you're not going to be able to do that. Ideally, we're going to be in a farm field. But what I've been doing here, I just kind of chisel around the root, and I'm just trying to get out, not the whole root, but as much root as I can. And then I'll store these in a hard-sided plastic container. I mean, wrapped in a damp towel. These could last for a couple months. I would trim off those fleshy portions, the green portions at the top, though. Green, red, same thing. Tender portions. Now I'm in a farm field, wearing a different outfit, and all about consistency here. And now you can see this one I'm going to get. Look at that guy. That is a nice one. That's a nice big chunky one. That one is about 12 ounces. So, you want to look for bigger plants, bigger rosettes, and you're digging these in the spring or the fall. I like them in the spring. You don't want to dig it when the plant is really, really too big or it's started to make the flower stalk. And we're just going to peel the roots here. We're going to keep them in acidulated water to prevent them from discoloring. And with these wild roots, they're wild roots. You could have some that split. You want them in soft soil so they don't hit rocks and split and become all spindly and small. That's a decent root. Here is kind of the secret with cooking with them. We're going to start into the Kinpira Gobo here. And traditionally, this root is cut into julienne. So kind of really fine matchsticks. And it's just absolutely genius. The other genius thing is that in Kinpira Gobo, it's mixed with carrots. Carrots are sweet, carrots are a little more tender, but they're still a root, so they're complementary shapes. You get both roots at the same time while you're eating. And it's just a great way to kind of spread out the naturally crunchy texture of burdock and really make it more palatable and easy to eat. So with the carrots, we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to cut them into coins on the kind of a hard bias, and then into just matchsticks. You want about 1/4 inch thick. The difference between cultivated and wild burdock. This is wild burdock, so I blanch the roots because they are not as tender as the cultivated ones. If you look online, you're going to see burdock recipes where they just put the burdock and the carrots in the pan at the same time. You can do that if you're using cultivated burdock. If you're using wild burdock like I am here, you cannot do that. I am going to add a number of possibly heretical ingredients here because I usually like some herbs. I will add some allium, so there was some Thai basil. I'll put some of that in at the end. And Kinpira, if we do something Kinpira, it means it's sweet and it has soy sauce. So I'm going to use maple syrup and soy sauce in mine. And you can see there's some scallion. You're not going to see that at your typical sushi joint. Like this is at like every sushi restaurant I go to. They always have Kinpira Gobo. It's so good. And it's served cold. So you can just it's great for packing a lunch. You just pack it in a cooler and go. I add a little bit of grated ginger, a little chili flake. Again, not traditional at all. But feel free to improvise, I've also added parsnips. All kinds of things. And there it is with a little mint on that other version. Okay, the leaf petioles. These are probably the most obscure part of this plant and one of the more difficult ones to render edible. And I really mean render edible, if that makes any sense. The flower stalks are the best. The roots I like a lot too. These are like my least favorite part of the plant, but they can still be okay. But you want to make sure to get them before the leaves are matured. If you don't, they're just going to be really tough. And I was scrubbing them there. Sam Thayer will recommend scrubbing them. In his field guide, he recommends that. If they are big enough, I definitely recommend that. But I have had success. Here, what I'm doing is boiling them twice. I have had success with these small ones, not scrubbing them and just boiling them twice, because you're going to boil them for like 30 minutes. And then traditionally, those are used to make kind of a fritter. And those will be in my next book. So that's why we're not going over it today. But you can make them edible if you boil them long enough, basically. Now, for the flower stalks, these are my favorite part of the plant. That is what I'm harvesting, the flower stalk there. Now, this is a clip from 2017 of a smaller one, and you want to get these before they have made flower buds. And I'm stripping, these have to be peeled twice. So I'm stripping off kind of the outside, and then I'm going to peel it with a vegetable peeler again, because you really have to get these fibers off. And this one looks a little limp. It may have been in my fridge for a little bit, but you get the basic idea. And these can be very nice and thick. They can be as thick as your thumb or thicker. This is just a smaller one, so it would fit into the frame. So once we get that all peeled, here you can see I have some other ones. This is from, I think, maybe 2 years ago. And I have a bunch of them peeled. See, they're nice and nice, bigger size. And I'm going to cut them on the oblique, so I'm rolling it 180 degrees before I make each slice. That gives them kind of 3 different facets when they're cut. Good for vegetable medleys. Now, with the flower stalks, we're going to boil these in a little salted water just until they're tender. So we can see here, I will take my little cake tester, my little low-tech thermometer, and I'll poke it through one. And I can see it pokes through, so that is ready. Just taste one. And these are great in vegetable medleys or added to soup, or, all kinds of things you can do. Really good soup vegetable. There's a dish I did with a stuffed rabbit saddle back from 2018. And then I've shaved them into noodles and just stir-fried them with a little chili and sesame, and that was great. There you go. Quick breakdown of the different parts of burdock and what you can do with them. Recipes I mentioned here on my website. There's going to be links to that and the larger blog post in the video description. Thanks for watching.